Hey guys, Reese here from Study Nova. Today we're going to be talking about the IOC and one quick tactic that you can use to master or at least get a decent grade on your IOC. Now the IOC differs from the FOA because it's mostly you on your own presenting in front of your teacher with a recorder because it's sent off to an IB examiner to do the external grading as well. So that's mainly where the IOC and the FOA differ. FOA, you can do it in groups and it's very creative and it's part 1, part 2 of the course, whereas with the IOC, it's a critical study of the plays or the poems that you've been doing from whichever author and poets and whatnot. So it sounds intimidating, right? The IOC, you're doing it alone, you've got all these different texts to study and you don't know which is going to pop up. It's unseen, by the way. The IOC is unseen. So what do? Well, that's where this analyzing method that I'm going to talk about in this hopefully short video is going to help you with analyzing whatever text it is and being able to present very coherently, because when you don't really know what you're presenting, you start to stutter and you start to, freeze up. But with this method, hopefully through practice, you'll be able to analyze more effectively and therefore give a very good IOC presentation. So what is this method that you can use in your IOC, FOA, or your final exams even? Well, it's just that. It's a method. It's a way of analyzing, and understanding what this method isn't necessarily going to put you over the edge and instantly grant you, a level 7 in English. So that's just a little disclaimer I want to put out there. This is a method, it's a technique, and you need to practice it. And it's called the CTS model. So the ACTS model, where A stands for audience and purpose, C stands for context and theme, T stands for tone and mood, and S stands for style and structure. Now, on the website, studynova.com, I've got a lot of articles that employ such a model, and I do talk about it a lot, but in this video, we're going to break down each one of those aspects and how you can employ them and bring them all together for your IOC presentation. So let's get right into it. Let's start with A, right? Audience and purpose. When you've got your text in front of you and you're preparing for the IOC, you've got a certain amount of time to prepare. You're trying to think, okay, based on the language that I'm seeing in this text right now, who do I think the author is trying to refer to, or the poet? Are they referring to little kids? Are they trying to talk to teenagers? Are they trying to talk to military veterans? Are they trying to talk to elderly citizens in mental hospitals or in retirement homes? These are all the kind of things you need to really start thinking about when you've taken an initial skim through the text that you're reading through. Now, the purpose side of that is kind of why. Why did the writer decide to write about this certain topic? What could have inspired them to write such a piece? When you're analyzing the purpose, you're kind of thinking about, alright, did something happen in their life that kind of inspired them to write? Maybe they lost a family member, maybe they lost a pet, maybe they're just going through some kind of traumatic event in their lives that kind of forced them to express themselves in such a way. So that's really the audience and purpose side of things. Audience, who is the writer referring to? And then the purpose, why did they write this text? So the C part of ACTS is, as I said earlier, the context and the theme. Now when you're thinking context, you're thinking, okay, time period. What was happening at the time? What was going on in society? What was going on in the culture? Maybe there was a political strife going on. Maybe the economy was faltering and not doing so well, and there was high unemployment. These are the kind of external factors that will definitely affect the text of any writer, and they might be referring to that within the text. It's just up to you to find those little clues and to analyze them to fit your analysis. Now the theme is really just the overriding theme. When you read through the text, what are you thinking? Are you getting a sense of patriarchy? Is there like a feministic point of view within the text that you're reading? So maybe feminism is the theme, or perhaps it's depression. You feel very sad when you read the text, or there's some kind of tragedy going on within the text. These are the kind of things that you need to think about when you're going through the theme, because it does relate back to the context sometimes, and even towards the tone and the mood. So speaking of the tone and the mood, when you're thinking about tone, you're thinking, okay, what's in the text? What is the terminology being used, and how do I feel about those certain words? So if you take a look at the word black, what does that make you feel? Does it make you feel happy? Does it make you feel, a little, cautious, or maybe it's a foreboding kind of word? Versus, for example, when you see a word such as bright, or green, or blue, what are the feelings that you might associate with such terminology? So those are the kind of little clues you're looking for when you're going into the tone of a text, and you're thinking, okay, how do I overall feel, and what is the tone of this text? Now, similarly, that parallels with how you'll feel about the text. So the mood part, you've gone through the tone, and now you're on the mood part. The mood is kind of, alright, as an audience member, what do I feel about this text? The words bright and blue and green and these happy words are used a lot in the text, and I kind of feel at peace. I kind of feel calm, and I enjoy reading through this text, and I kind of feel relaxed. Versus perhaps, oh, well, there's a lot of words like black and sorrow and a lot of adjectives and synonyms that relates to sadness and unhappiness. I don't feel so good, so maybe the author is talking about depression, something like that. So that's kind of what the tone and the mood of the text would be. And the final part is the style and structure. So the style is really referring to stylistic devices, so maybe the author used a metaphor or allusion or repetition a lot throughout the text. It's kind of those technical terminologies of English that you'll need to be using, but if you're decent at analyzing, then you'll probably have gone through a lot of those during your previous analysis using stylistic devices, going through the audience purpose, context and theme, and the tone and mood. So it's really down to emphasizing on certain, stylistic devices and why they're so important. You might want to pick one or two and kind of emphasize on, okay, so the author clearly used repetition a lot for certain phrases, which therefore might infer that the author is trying to emphasize on A, B, C, D. So that's kind of how you can analyze it. So with the structure part of your analysis, you're kind of taking a look at the actual structure of like the poem or the text or the short story, and you're kind of just building up. You do have to kind of know what a short story or a poem will symbolize, and then you have to kind of bring that back into your analysis. So why did the author, choose to write a short story about it instead of writing a poem, and vice versa? Why a poem instead of a short story? Bringing it all together, when you've got your ACTS and you've got all the content in your analysis, it's not like a checklist that you're going through. That's a common mistake that some students might make when using this method, is that thinking, alright, so I just go through this checklist and I'm fine, I'll just go through the audience, check, I've got the purpose, check, I've got the style and structure, check, check. It's not that. When you've got a method like this, it's an analysis. You're bringing it all together to form your own type of argument. So, how does the audience, for example, relate to the mood? Maybe the mood of the text kind of makes the audience feel XYZ, or perhaps the theme. So what is the theme of the text, and how does that relate to the purpose? So if the theme you've written is about, let's say, feminism, and the author's reasoning for writing the text was because she felt like she was being overlooked or being discriminated against for being a woman, for example. These are all types of things that kind of relate to each other. So it's not just a checklist that you're going through, you're analyzing everything and then you're bringing it together in one coherent presentation. That being said, it's easier said than done when it comes to presenting, and especially presenting an analysis like the ACTS model, or just your own English presentation. You do need to be able to manage your time and to understand the basics of the IOC. For example, the teacher will be asking you questions at the end of your presentation, depending on how well you did, and the point of these questions isn't really to put you on your toes, it's supposed to help you with your analysis. So you might have missed something out with maybe the context and the theme, and the teacher picked up on that and they say, alright, so you spoke about this, this, and this, can you tell me about the context and theme? And that's when you're like, oh, right, yeah, context and theme, I'm going to go through that again because I forgot in my initial presentation. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching, or I hope you found this useful. The ACTS model is a very, very effective analytical technique. I might make some videos in future on how you actually use that with some mock answers or some mock questions themselves. But until then, stay tuned to the channel and I'll see you in the next video.